In July of 2016, at a key and interesting time in the transition of the GD community, a mysterious Korean player by the name of Qwer came out of nowhere and began beating demons at a rate and ease never before seen in the game's history. This entity instantly brought suspicion on him, yet he had proof of streaming to back him up. This player's presence put many on edge, fresh off the back of a number of situational dramas for the community, but was also welcomed with open arms by many, before being debunked to be possibly one of the biggest GD social experiments ever seen. As it turned out, Qwer was a group of skilled players working together in secret to create the perfect illusion of a world-class player, and had the group not come out of the shadows when they did, we could have potentially seen an incredibly aggressive expansion. Today, we'll be returning to that strange period in GD, to one of the game's most intriguing and layered situations, and though I don't claim any of what I'm about to tell you to be 100% accurate given how long ago it was and how little evidence there was, I can say with a certainty that what I am about to show you is at the very least curious. I originally had plans to make a video like this in 2016 and was in the Qwer server for a very short time before it was deleted. But now, 2 years on, we are returning to this closed case as we ask, who was Qwer and how did it get so deep? The month of 2016 was an incredibly strange, interesting and dramatic point in GD's transition from the old glory days of 1.9 to the more modern community we see today. A key driving force in this transition was the 144Hz revolution, when 144Hz refresh rate monitors worked their way into the setups of the best players, giving the select few who could afford them a huge advantage over playing the game. During the latter stages of this period and the subsequent drama it caused between world number 1 player Serve and 60Hz activist Rippy, a strange, shady player under the alias Qwer burst out of nowhere, starting a YouTube channel and instantly uploading extreme demons to it with no track record or trace of an alter ego. People became suspicious of this player immediately, but there was no evidence to stop him. He was beating demons at a crazy pace, but he was doing the large majority live on Twitch. His seemingly inhuman abilities were initially chalked down to him hiding copyable attempts and lying about the time he invested in the game, but soon after he was making never before seen progress and, lying about attempts or not, his achievements couldn't be ignored. He got one of the highest scores on the unverified Sonic Wave at the time, getting 91% only a short time after announcing his YouTube career. On top of that, he was very close on Bloodbath, which remained number 1 on the demons list at the time, and he caused a stir again when he beat the very controversial new level by Tio, Betrayal of Fate, making him only the second to do so after male Veronica. The new extreme demon by Tio cost him everything. He was thrown out of Geostorm and his reputation was damaged immensely. Despite all of that, however, Betrayal of Fate was still rated and placed as second on the demons list before being dropped down to 4th. Many people attempted this hot topic demon, and the first to beat it was male Veronica, another controversial player at the time, who came out of the shadows very quickly and was moderately suspicious, followed up by Qwer. It was then Serve who beat it third, and he described the level as pure hell. Qwer, on the other hand, took it in his stride. His other achievements included Cataclysm, Ice Carbon Diablo X, the Ultimate Phase, all in world record attempts and crazy speeds. Hacker or not, Qwer had officially announced himself onto the scene. At the height of his popularity, rumours and ad hoc explanations for Qwer's skill spread like wildfire. Many bigger players wanted to debunk him as a hacker, but with streaming proof and a bigger fish to fry in the form of male Veronica who wasn't streaming, nobody attempted to interfere with him. Soon after, a larger portion of the community was exposed to Qwer when he received a shout out from none other than Cyclic. At this point, Cyclic had just returned after almost 4 months of absence on the back of his huge confession, and he still managed to retain his godlike prowess to his most loyal fans. He shouted Qwer out as one of 3 players he aimed to draw attention to, the others being world record demon grinder Passablitz and military returning Korean style grinder Super SNSD. With around 10,000 subscribers recovered within a month or two, the shout out went around the community, but in it, he prompted an interesting theory: what if Cyclic was Qwer? At this point, people still couldn't bring themselves to accept that Cyclic had hacked everything, and were sure he was just trying to get away from the community peacefully. And with Qwer being a mysterious Korean entity with such little backstory, emerging in a much similar fashion and at the same time as Cyclic did, fans started connecting various dots and began believing their favourite fallen star could have been playing behind an alter ego. While this couldn't have been further from the eventual truth, it started down the idea that Qwer may have been someone else, lying about who he said he was. Cyclic made the right move in not even acknowledging these claims and letting them run their course, and ultimately the Cyclic Qwer theory was dropped. Someone else who was a super popular player in the community at the time was Serve. Having been only a few months since his infamous Bloodbath race with Quasar, and fresh off the back of beating the top 10 demons and racing past 30,000 subscribers, Serve was also a player who was on everybody's minds regularly. Not only was he well liked by many, but he was also incredibly controversial for the fact that he spearheaded the side of pro 144Hz players during the revolution and was the sole person to publicly take on and call out Rippy. Serv was the most relevant player in the game, and he had his own suspicions over Qwer's identity and legitimacy, but he'd soon learned the truth earlier than he expected himself. Despite the growing audience, array of achievements and gradual clout he was gaining, Qwer unexpectedly quit the game out of the blue towards the end of July. He claimed that he was quitting because the game wasn't fun for him anymore. Many expected him to confess to hacking, but the eventual truth was far more intriguing. Rumours flew round the community, one being that Qwer wasn't actually just one person, and that it may have been something to do with Male Veronica and Aurorus. That same day, a Discord DM was uploaded to the GD forums, showing a person in the screenshot who I believe to be Nitrodox, revealing an incredible truth. As it turned out, Qwer was indeed far more than just one person. In fact, it was a large group of big players working in the game together to rebeat some of their biggest achievements under one entity, with the overarching goal to create the illusion of the perfect Korean player, this period being not too long after the sequential departures of Neptune, Sari and Cyclic. According to the DM, it was initially a joke, a troll account who would rise up and beat Sonic Wave, so to jokingly beat Mafui to the punch in the eyes of the community, given the original Sonic Wave race was still well and truly underway at this point. As a result, Mafui was involved in the project, and was the person who achieved the infamous 91% score on the level. But it seemed that the project had gotten bigger, and with more and more players and more initiative. After realising the team could pull off an awesome social experiment, the possibilities were endless. The sky was the limit in creating their own perfect identity, and more players involved working in secret meant more reach. However, it seemed as if the project had gone too far out of the original circle, particularly to Aurorus, who after being allowed in immediately started blackmailing the members. They also blamed Male Veronica, who told a couple of different people, which dramatically compromised the team's security. Serv caught wind of the project with initial plans to get him involved, but before any huge names could get their feet on the ground, the project was exposed. It was strange though, at the time we found out they were on the cusp of executing a huge upscaling which would have surely made it one of the biggest GD scandals in history. As previously mentioned, Qwer had a varied team of players working behind the scenes, but who were they? Well, it became clear through Male Veronica's involvement that he had the Betrayal of Fate recording. It also turned out that Wabbit, a popular community activist and member of the friend group who formed Qwer who have now mostly quit, was running the show and organising who would beat what. Mafui was an integral part to the project, of course, reaching 91% on Sonic Wave, but the high score on Bloodbath was achieved by only its fourth victor, RPG Riketti. Gigas, a Korean ex-player, was also involved, though his contributions were unknown. We soon learned that the brunt of the work was being done by Wabusha, one of Wabbit's friends who gained fame quite quickly after becoming an early Bloodbath victor. We don't know exactly what his contributions were aside from the ultimate phase, but it is likely that he was behind Cataclysm and Ice Carbon Diablo X victories. These were the main participants, but they had plans to grow the project with the help of bigger names. Quasar, who had been pretty quiet all summer, was shortlisted to complete the Hell Factory, and though he was involved with its downfall, Aurorus was shortlisted for a number of tasks too, one of which was the unverified Infernal Abyss, a top 5 demon at the time, a true illustration that the members were beginning to use their reach to attract possibilities towards the project. And if Serv had managed to get involved, his contributions would have no doubt included the top 10 demons that hadn't already been assigned, e.g. Phobos, Conical Depression and Crimson Clutter. The team had growth in their sights. There was even talk of getting Riot involved, but whether any agreement was reached before the team's downfall remains a mystery. Alas, it all came crashing down when the project was revealed, an intricate web of brilliant deception. Obviously, it's foolish to think that Qwer would have survived the 2 years since, not least because of the number of participants that have quit or gone inactive, but if they had completed their upscaling, we could have seen some incredible developments. Just think if Mafui had seen Sonic Wave through and beaten it on the Qwer account. We saw how quickly RobTop rated it when Sonics verified it in November, so imagine if Qwer had acquired such an enormous title to its name. The same can be said for Infernal Abyss, and by involving Riot, his eventual view to become a community activist and announce things like Cosmic Cyclone, Sonic Wave Infinity and Tartarus would all mean big things for the account. The reach would have grown exponentially, and though it would have been impossible to keep the project a secret forever, plenty of damage or progress depending on your perspective could have been done in the interim. Would Sonic Wave have been unrated? Would Mafui have stayed in the game longer? How many subscribers would Qwer have amassed, given Sonics went on a similar rampage of demons at the same time and now sits at over 100,000? All these questions are ones we will never be able to answer, but the thought is still fascinating. In a community full of petty drama, fights and shallow behaviour, it's fascinating to think that such a calculated, organised and frankly dark project could have prevailed, and we would have had no idea. No evidence has emerged that anything like this has ever been attempted or executed since, but it does make you wonder. What if more than one person is behind a particularly famous name in the community? It would require in-depth social engineering, but it wouldn't be impossible. But regardless of the here and now, we can just look back on July 2 years ago and remember what a weird period it was for the community.